Welcome back to another episode of the Be Who You Came to Be podcast. It's Tara Renze, your host, flying solo on the podcast today. We are wrapping up Women's History Month, International Women's Day, which I love that we have a Women's History Month. I love that we have an International Women's Day, although, we should be celebrating women every day. And the other thing, I just have to get this out right at the beginning of the podcast, is that so many times I think the slant on Women's History Month and International Women's Day is for working professional women. And I'm just here to tell you that it's for all women. And it's for all women of all ages, whether you work inside of the home, outside of the home, whether you work in corporate, you have your own business, whether you are a mom, a caregiver. I don't care what you do. If you are female and unapologetically female, then this month is for you. And it's about celebrating your story, who you are, who you came to be, and knowing that we're all different. And that's what I think where women really can change everything is when we start honoring each other's authenticity and giving all of us the space to be who we came to be, knowing that we're different, knowing that we all have our own special values and gifts, knowing that we live our lives differently. Just like all of our houses are decorated differently, we raise our children differently, our marriages are different, our friendships, how we were raised, we're all different and we're all unique. And I think when we start celebrating that in other women is really when we change the world for the better. I made an Instagram or a LinkedIn post and an Instagram post on International Women's Day about, I feel like my most important work as a woman, and I asked myself, like, what do I want to post? Like, what has been the most important thing I've done, the most important work that I've done? And immediately I thought of my sons, Ben and Jack, and being unapologetically female in their lives. I'm sure I've told this to you guys before, but I'm going to tell you again now. I was raised by a pack of men. Yes, my mom and my grandmothers were very, very important women in my life, but I was the first girl in 4 generations on my dad's side of the family. So you can imagine when I was born, they were so freaking excited to have a girl that it was pink, it was tiaras, it was dolls, it was tutus, but it was a bunch of alpha men who were like, put on your tutu, we're going fishing. So they celebrated me very female, but they always gave me a seat at the table. They always treated me as equal. They always allowed me to go on the guy trip, to go on the fishing trip, to go out and hunt, to do whatever it was. Now, was I very female? Yes. One of my youngest, very vivid memories as a little girl was my brothers had go-karts. And just, I was the first girl in 4 generations, and I have older brothers. And now, if I'm raising boys. Like I don't have a daughter. So, but one of my most vivid memories as a little girl was gaining the courage to race the go-karts. My brothers had go-karts, and they used to just go and run the go-karts, around the small town. And I finally got up the nerve to ride this go-kart, and I got the gas and the brakes mixed up, and I was screaming full throttle. My dad was chasing me, trying to jump on the back of the go-kart. He was yelling, push the brake, but I kept pushing the gas, and then I got scared and overwhelmed, ended up freaking wrecking the go-kart into these pine trees. And I literally went inside and got my dolls out. And I was like, yeah, maybe this is a better place for me. But I will say that being raised like this by these really amazing men, I think it accelerated my confidence in being feminine and being a woman, knowing that hey, I can go sit at the table with the men in my high heels with my jewelry on and, lipstick that perfectly matches my suit. And I am totally fine, with that and being the only female. I was never, because I was raised like this, I never thought I'm not equal. I don't have a seat at the table. No one ever told me that. No one ever was like, hey, you're going to have to play differently because you're a girl. No one ever said that to me and said, they were like, girl, be as girly as you can and come hang with the guys. And so I've spent a lot of time around guys, and I'm very thankful for great men in my life who gave me that opportunity, who gave me that seat at the table, who treated me with equality, who gave me the permission at a young age to confidently step into my own. And I think that's what we need to be doing for women is instead of making them scared or telling them the world is not equal, giving them the confidence to show up and be the best version of them. Have I been in situations where they were shitty situations with not great men? Absolutely. I totally have. Have I been in shitty situations with not great women? Yes, yes, I have. So I think it goes back to honoring our authenticity, who we are and who we came to be. Um, and so as a mother, my most important work, as a woman, my most important work, because I am a mother, is raising my boys to be the best version of themselves, to be who they came to be, to honoring women, to giving women in their lives the space to show up unapologetically feminine, but have the confidence and then giving them the space to express themselves and go all in. And that I think that's just so important. How, I'm really raising my men to my men. They are my men. They're 15 and 17. They look like men too. To honor women like that. And I have to tell you, it's being a working mom it's been a lot, like we've talked on other episodes about working mom, quote unquote, guilt and how it's not really guilt. It's displaced feeling of like, I wanted to be there when I missed stuff for my kids. But also because I honored who I was and I love ambition. I love working. That has taught my son so much because that is authentically who I am. And I was never trying to be something I wasn't. And for that, they're proud of me. And so I just, it's hard to believe that these boys are 15 and 17 in high school and going to be on their way out soon. I don't know. It's a lot for me. So what I thought we could do for this episode is, there's been this really fun trend going around. What I would tell my younger self, like I had a coffee with my younger self and I did it as well. And, by the way, I'm wearing my hair straight today. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see my straight hair. I rarely wear my hair straight. And in my Instagram clip that I made, I said, I met my younger self for coffee today. She came in with her hair straight, of course. I had my hair curled because I've curled my hair for years. But it's so funny. I have my best friend in the world, Colleen, which I need to have her on the show. She's like just an amazing human being. And I always say, like, if I was to get married and have a wife, I would want Colleen. Not only would we have a freaking blast, like we could have fun at an insurance seminar. She's just an amazing, nurturing, loving person, but she's also just a hell of a good time. And she always comments when I wear my hair straight. I digress. That has nothing to do with International Women's Day, other than that you can change your hair, you can change your hairstyle, you can do whatever you want. You are going to go through many, many iterations of who you are and who you came to be. But I thought we could do some of these like advice to my younger self. So I've made a list here of things, and I think most importantly, I'm not here to give my younger self advice because we have to learn things on our own, but maybe some perspective. I wish that I had a little more perspective. And it's interesting as I wrote these, I was like, this is actually perspective that I needed when I was younger, and it's perspective that I need now, and it's perspective that I'm going to need in years to come. So the first one is this: you are not behind. I feel like as an ambitious woman, I've always been hustling and been trying to not prove myself, but not to others, but prove myself to myself of like, you want this, you can achieve it. And it was always, there was a long time in my life where I felt like I was chasing something versus embracing the journey and who I am and who I came to be. And so I think this rush to arrive, this rush to be on top of our craft or our house or our ambitions or whatever it is, like we lose so much sight of the journey and where we're at, and that you're not behind, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. And, I've talked to people who are in a grief journey and they're like, oh, how am I supposed to be in this grief journey right now? Or they're at a low point in their life. And it's not that you're supposed to be going through this grief or this person was supposed to exit your life or whatever it is, but it's that you're discovering something and that you need to honor that part of you right now that says like, hey, I am sad. I lost someone I love. This can, something else can wait because I need to honor where I'm at. And so I remind myself of this now of like, you're not behind. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And I think if we gave ourselves that permission all the time to be like, you're not behind. Like, you're never going to arrive. This isn't a race. Like, live each day to the fullest and love it. So that's the first one. Second is confidence is not something you get, it's something you build. And I think that, you know, the saying like act as if, I mean, yes, you can act as if, but I think that it has to be confidence in who you are at the core of yourself, confidence in your heart, confidence in your kindness, that you are a good person, confidence in that you want to do the right thing, confidence in that you're willing to learn, confidence in that you go the extra mile for people, and confidence in your journey and who you're becoming. And back to the first one, that you're not behind. I feel like there's so much power in that. I think there's so much power in the be who you came to be notion of like, be who you came to be. Who you were is not who you are. And we can confidently step into our own, knowing that we're always going to be a work in progress. And I think the confidence has to come from our authenticity and how we make other people feel. And that's really very, very important, because people will never remember all the things you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. And can you be confident in that if your words, you know, I think about even as a keynote speaker, like, maybe my words weren't all correct, or I didn't tell a story correct, or, you know, I felt like I didn't have my natural, you know, power on the stage or whatever. I go back to being like, did it change the way I made people feel? And my message, I remind myself this all the time about my message. And I'd love you to think about your life like this too. Like, Tara, separate yourself from the message. You are to deliver this message to make other people feel good about who they are and who they came to be. You separate yourself from the message, because your job is to give people the self-regard and self-love to be the best version of them. And so once I start separating myself from what my mission is, which is not to, you know, become Tara Renze, global keynote speaker and travel all over the world speaking on stages. It's to become Tara Renze, someone with a message that changes lives, and to get that message to as many people as I possibly can. And that's how we can gain confidence. Perspective number 3, the people who love you, who are for you, will find you. And this requires you to be unapologetically authentic to who you are, not to bend who you are, not to shrink who you are. You don't have to over-explain yourself. Find your people, find your raving fans. You know, we talk about musicians, that the best musicians are the ones that write the music that's in their heart, that's in their soul, knowing that they're going to find people who love it. And that's who they want to play the music for. They don't want to play a song for some, you know, asshole who doesn't like their music. That's not who they're playing that for. That's not who they're showing up for. They are writing it for their raving fans. Write your music, live your life for the people who love you, who want to celebrate you. And if you give yourself permission to do that, they will find you. It is crazily magnetic how people come in and out of your life. Have you ever met someone you're like, oh my God, I cannot believe that our universes collided and that you were part of my life because I needed you? They will find you. So shine your authentic light. Perspective number, this is perspective 4. And this one, I think, this is something I needed when I was younger. And this is something that I know I'm going to need in the future. And that's that people will come in and out of your life. And I'm not just talking about, you know, lovers or people. I think we all went through I've been married, happily married for 24 years. You know, the most fulfilling relationship in my life. Have we been happy all the time? You know, for the most part, we've been happy. But we've had our ups and downs. We've had our hardships. And we've stayed the course for each other. And that my marriage is the most fulfilling relationship that I've ever had with one other human being, because we give each other so much. And we show up for each other when we need it most. And I'm lucky that I am still married to my best friend, because I think marriages don't work out because someone changes and you don't change together and you're not willing to rediscover the changed person. We want someone to be who they always were for us. And that is a terrible expectation to put on any human in your life, is that you want them to be who they were at one point in time forever, because they're going to change and you're going to change. Where I've had the most hardship with this is with friendships. And maybe you're one of those friends that I had that isn't a big part of my life anymore. And I want you to know that that was a very hard thing for me to navigate, was having friends come in and out of my life in my middle age because I changed or they changed or something happened and that friendship didn't survive the change. And it's always has happened around change. It's always happened around something within that person's life and change. And you know, it doesn't, what I realized, I actually have a chapter about this in my book because this was a very hard thing for me to go through, was having, a couple women specifically in my life who they were like my ride or die besties. I freaking loved these women. And then something happened and our friendships changed. And what I realized was it was okay. And that relationship served some season of my life where I absolutely needed it. And it was so amazing and so brilliant and so much love and so much fun and so much laughter. And it was time for the next chapter for whatever reason. And it doesn't make the relationship bad. It doesn't mean that that was a wasted friendship or that was a wasted time. It means that it was time to move on for whatever reason, whatever God, and I'm a Christian. I do believe that God puts people in our lives for reasons and for seasons. And there's some people that God puts in our lives forever. And that you need to make sure that when people are exiting for a reason, one reason or another, that it's just okay. It's just okay. And people will come in and out of your life, and you have to leave the doors open for the right people to come in, and you have to leave the doors open for the right people to leave at the right time. You will lose, and perspective, I have to keep going back and counting. I should have numbered these. Instead, I just bullet pointed them. Perspective number 5, you will lose and find yourself over and over again. Reinvention isn't failure, it's evolution. I finally figured out that I'm never going to figure it out. Like, I finally figured out that I'm never going to figure it out. Like, right when you think you got it figured out, you're like, shit, something changed. It's not working anymore. And I think about who I am and how I've has evolved as a woman. And I think that's why this Be Who You Came to Be mantra is so freaking powerful, because it gives you the permission to change. It gives you the permission to lose yourself and find yourself. It is be who you came to be, not find yourself in your 30s and live that ride forever, or find yourself when you're 45, or find yourself when you're 18. Like, be who you came to be. It's this notion that you're always going to be a work in progress. You're always going to be growing and changing and evolving. And you have to give yourself permission to reinvent yourself, to find yourself, and to do that over and over again. And it's actually, once you just surrender to this notion that you're never going to have it figured out, you're going to evolve, you're going to change, it's actually pretty magnificent and very beautiful. And you can learn so much about yourself on that journey. The final thing that I want to say, and this is perspective number 6, is that the things that feel heavy now won't always feel heavy. And obviously, going through my grief journey of losing my dad, that was one of the hardest things that I have ever navigated in my life. And this feeling of like, when will my eyes not be burning with tears? When will this pit in my stomach leave? When will my heart not be broken? I remember telling a friend, like, I literally feel like my heart is broken. It was this pain in my chest daily and the sadness that I carried. And I don't think until you go through this, you know. And I think that is designed, that you don't know how much grief hurts. But I want you to know that it won't always be that heavy, and it won't always hurt this bad. And I know that that wasn't the last of my grief journeys. And again, I think it's perspective that once we go through it, we understand, and it opens up this spot in our heart for people who are, I'm like getting emotional, who are going through something where we don't even have to have the words. We just have to have the empathetic heart and space to say, I see you. I love you. It's okay how you're feeling. Honor this grief, honor this love, honor this feeling, because it won't always feel this way, and you will get through this. And when I find someone is grieving, I never have the words. I have the space. I hug them and I let them know that, like, you're going to be okay. And, like, it's part of love, which is the most amazing thing that I believe we have in this world is love. Be who you came to be. Love will guide you. Grief is love. Sadness is love. There's something there that isn't there, and we have to learn how to live our lives without it. So things aren't heavy now. We'll always feel this way. So anyway, I just want to give you permission for all the international women listening and all the men listening, to honor your authenticity and honor her authenticity. We didn't all come to think alike. We didn't all come to be alike. We didn't all come to dress alike, to act alike, to do the same things, to live the same lives, to, all the things. Like, once you can really do this, if you can give yourself, first off, permission to be exactly who you came to be, knowing that you're going to mess up, you're going to make mistakes, you're not always going to have it figured out, you are going to have to reinvent yourself, all the things I just talked about. And then you give other people the permission to do the same. Like, we could slay dragons together. Like, if we could really do this, if dragons existed, maybe they do. I'm not opposed to a good conspiracy theory, but what I'm saying is that if we all gave each other the permission to be unapologetically authentic to exactly who we came to be, imagine the world would be a better place. Women would unite. Men would also unite. I think men have their own bags of insecurities and all those other things that we think it's only a women's thing. I think that women have more of them. I raised boys. I've lived around men my whole life, as you noticed, and we worry about a lot of shit that men don't. But it all starts, if we actually held space for each other's authenticity and love, we could slay dragons, we could change the world. So on International Women's Day, we're wrapping up this month. We're ending the month with someone who has changed my life for the better. Her name is Gail Davis. She's our special guest next week. She started GDA and Associates, which is a speakers bureau firm, back in the late 90s, and, has navigated a male-dominated industry, has navigated technology, has navigated an ever-changing speaker world. And something that she does better than anyone else is celebrate other people. I mean, she celebrates other people by connecting the right speakers to the right stages. And that alone has transformed. I mean, I joke with her on the show next week that we need to try to define how many hundreds of thousands of people that she's changed. And by her being who she came to be and saying, hey, I want to start a business connecting the right people with the right audiences, how many friendships were born, how many lives were changed, how many lives were saved. And she does this by honoring people's authentic messages and knowing that hey, even if she's not a raving fan of this person, she knows who the right audience is. I'm so excited for you guys to learn from Gail next week, because she has a great story of changing not just women's lives, but literally hundreds of thousands, I would say millions of people's lives, because of the choices that she made and who she honored, who she was, and who she came to be. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Be Who You Came to Be podcast, a solo episode, which, I'm learning to like these. I struggled. I struggled. I told you that I was going to launch with one. I was like, no, I think I'm going to go with a friend, always more fun and safe with a friend. But I'm stepping into my own too, and getting more and more comfortable with being behind this microphone, talking into space, and then connecting. And thank you for the notes and for the feedback. It means a lot to me. I'm doing this for you. I love you. I want to see you shine. I want to see you step into your authenticity and be exactly the woman that you came to be, not just on International Women's Day and Women's History Month, but every month. So keep shining, live unapologetically authentic, and be who you came to be.